Hello, MANSCAPED. Hello, MANSCAPED. Did you say there's a code you can use for 20% off? BSR Sports 20, link in bio. Perfect. Guys, if you don't use it, you're daft. You're very, very daft.
100%.
So,
Need to get your hands on this.
You really do. It's honestly,
thank you.
Like, the leading market in men's grooming. Like, you can't go wrong with something
If you're
like
not
this.
leaving yourself happy, you're not leaving the ladies happy. That's
5-star reviews. Go for it. You won't be disappointed.
Guys,
You must get this package alone just for the newspaper. Like, the newspaper just
for the newspaper alone.
It's going up on my wall.
It does mean no mess. Like, I don't think they've missed out anything. No mess, no noise, in the dark, good smell, good tone, grip, size. Oh my. Boxer's t-shirt.
Can it go wrong?
If this is not the full package, what is?
I might leave the podcast and just go use this.
If you want £20 off, 20%, £20 off. Link is in the bio. It's just very daft if you didn't do it. If you're not going to do it. Hello there, and welcome to the BSR Sports podcast from the fans for the fans. Today we're joined by the usual guests, Liam Murphy, Luke McFarlane, and Robbie Hanratty. How are we, boys? It's a pleasure to be here again.
Good.
Yeah, pleasure as always.
Yeah, thanks to be here.
Good stuff. Right, very, very interesting topic of choice to start with. I'm guessing you've seen David Turnbull's goal the other night against Aberdeen. Sorry to break it to you, Robbie, but it was an absolute screamer. And this boy has got a future ahead of him, whether it be Motherwell, whether it be Celtic, whether it be down south in the future. Turnbull's just a different player, isn't he? We'll talk about Celtic first before we get into the rant about McInnes and co. Robbie, what did you think from a Celtic point of view? They've obviously made a massive turnaround from New Year. They were expected to come back in after the bye and pick up the points again. They didn't. The league race now looks over. Ultimately, it does look over. But credit to Neil Lennon. He's turned it round, and Turnbull has turned up, and he's taken the team by the scruff of the neck, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. David Turnbull, they paid the money for him from Motherwell, so I knew he had the talent, and I knew he'd be someone that could make an impact at Celtic. But it took a bit of a while to get going, obviously, his Celtic career. But his goal yesterday just shows the class that he really does have, getting a bit of space and then fighting right in the bottom corner. And I think for Celtic's recent form, getting Edward firing again, I think that's crucial because we all know Odsonne Edouard, best player probably in the league.
That's him. Sorry, but 17 goals this season, and this is him supposed to be having. This is him supposed to be having a shocker of a season, right? Put it this way: this is him supposed to be having one of the worst seasons he's ever had. He scored 17 goals, and it's only February. What does that say? What does that say to you about the level that Edward's been playing at?
Yeah, it just shows in the fact that he's now managed to up his level again. And Celtic, they've always the squad's not too much different to what's won the leagues previously. So these players have obviously got it in them, but things just weren't working for a while. But I'm not saying yesterday's performance against Aberdeen, from a Celtic point of view, was brilliant, but they managed to hold on, get the 3 points and a clean sheet. So Neil Lennon would have been delighted.
And it's something they've not been able to do in recent games.
Yeah, usually they'd be I've watched a lot of Celtic games, usually even against St Johnstone. Don't get me wrong, I guess Aberdeen was the same yesterday, but they were piling bodies forward, but Celtic managed to actually deal with the pressure, whereas previously in the season, it could have been own goals, penalties conceded, rushes of blood. I think they've calmed themselves down a bit and a bit more composed, which Aberdeen obviously gave Ayer, as usual, a bit too much space, but
yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. What I was going to say is, I seen you were very active on Twitter about Callum McGregor. So the ball came into Ayer, and you seen Aberdeen's attempted high press. Is that down to the players, or is that down to McInnes? For the Celtic goal, you seen the ball getting played into Ayer. There was a lack of urgency from some players. It was very lacklustre, wasn't it? And then you just see McGregor getting 30, 40 yards on the ball, no pressure at all. manages to play it into Turnbull all the time in the world, and he just picks it at the bottom corner like a world-class midfielder, doesn't he?
You want me to have a rant and say how I feel about it? Because
just go for it.
This is not something that's unfamiliar to Aberdeen fans playing against Celtic and Rangers. So it is down to the manager, in my opinion, because this happens on a frequent basis against Celtic and Rangers. Whether it be Christopher Ayer, Connor Goldson, whoever manages to run out from the back freely and then find a midfielder, find someone who is unmarked, got space to run, and then pick the spot. And don't get me wrong, David Turnbull, absolute cracking finish. The guy is a talent, but giving these players the space to run, the freedom of Parkhead, 40, 50 yards to run. Why? I don't know what the tactic really was. And I think Dean Campbell, I love Dean Campbell, but I think him man-marking Ben Christie is not messy. I think he should have been picking up the runner rather than being interested in one individual player. So there was a lot wrong with that goal conceded on Aberdeen point of view. But if you were Celtic and a neutral watcher, you'd be thinking, yeah, David Turnbull, cracking finish, cracking move.
Yeah, David Turnbull has 7 goals and 5 assists and 27 games this season. So not bad for a centre mid that's been given, say, 5 minutes. And then if you put it in perspective, I wouldn't really say 27 games because we've seen Lennon didn't want to play him. He was putting him on for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, even 1 minute at the end of some games this season. So really, like, I would say about 15 games he's played, probably about 13 games he started. So 7 goals and 5 assists in 13 games that he started. That's a remarkable turn for a player that was out for so long. And honestly, I think most of us thought his career would never hit the heights that he did with Motherwell again because of that serious injury and the setback of not signing for Celtic at the start. So on it, all credit to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo what you say and think that David Turnbull, going forward, he can only get better. He's obviously a really talented player, but as you alluded to at the start, how far can his career go? Obviously, Celtic are still one of the best clubs in Scotland. They go to rebuild in the summer, go again for the title. But I can see him easily following the footsteps of the likes of Stuart Armstrong and Billy Gilmore, etc., playing in John Fleck, playing in the Premier League one day.
Yeah, 100%. He suits perfectly to that centre attacking mid role, and I think as well, what I keep saying it. Callum McGregor's not a central defensive mid. He's just not a defensive midfielder, and he needs to be pushed up that part further. We've seen it time and time again. He's played for Celtic. He's ripped Rangers apart. He's ripped Aberdeen apart, playing in that attacking role. And you've seen it for his link-up play to Turnbull. I know he picked up the ball deep, but I just feel Lennon's playing him far too deep, and he gets so much ability. I feel McGregor's get the fat. Honestly, see if I'm being honest with you, in a live football match, he's got the fastest feet I've ever seen in a football player. Callum McGregor, his feet are remarkably fast. So to say that he's got all this dribbling ability, all this passing ability, the range, and he's getting played so deep, it frustrates me. And I think we've seen it this season where when he has been played further up the park with Turnbull, both of them can just erupt into a different duo, can't they?
So sorry to interrupt you there, Blair, but I would link this as well again to Liverpool's scenario in a sense, because that's the way Wijnaldum almost plays. Like,
yeah,
because
Thiago maybe even Thiago as well.
You could say the same about Thiago, but you see, I agree with you, McGregor. I think McGregor's a fantastic footballer for Celtic, and he's obviously a great leader. Obviously, will be the captain of Celtic probably at the end of the season.
Tierney said that he will be the captain next.
He doesn't shy away. That's what I love about him.
And I mean, he has a fantastic, like you said, I've seen him live before as well, and he has a very, very talented footballer, and he seems to be committed to the project at Celtic, wherever they be. So, with the likes of McGregor, I do agree with you that he should be pushed further up, but I think he's mainly been playing there because you need an experienced head almost in a defensive midfield role, and out of all Celtic's midfielders, Sorrow is obviously a talented player. But McGregor's the most experienced, and maybe Lennon's maybe starting to lose faith in Scott Brown a little bit.
Yeah, what Lennon's been doing, he's been playing like two at the back and then a centre attacking mid. So usually he was playing Christie, centre attacking mid. Celtic fans might call him Rose Ed because that's where he hits most of his shots. Robbie, you'll probably know about Christie. And then you've got Scott Brown or Sorrow and then McGregor. But he was going with a Scott Brown and McGregor, two defensive mids. I understand it, but I just don't feel it was working for Celtic at all. And I think because we've seen Sorrow coming in and showing Scott Brown the way it should be done now. Have you noticed Scott Brown? He was out injured. My dad actually mentioned this. He was out injured for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Do you not notice he's come back? He's come back to be the player that he used to be. See the Scott Brown we've seen this season? He's been way off it, nothing like...
A shadow of his form myself. I thought he'd got to be maybe retiring, playing on that form, but...
I thought, well, I think everybody thought that, didn't they? I think Scott Brown's went away, and obviously after getting injured, he's went away and he's hit the gym. He's realised, if I don't pick up this now, my season's finished. So he's came back and he's reignited. So now Lennon's got a choice whether to play Sorrow or Brown. He's got a choice who to play in centre mid, obviously. And Cham, I always felt Cham was perfect for Celtic. Don't know about Lennon. He didn't really get a game, kind of a mix-up there. With Turnbull now fitting into that spot, what happens with Christie? Because Turnbull's on fire right now, but we all know the quality Christie has.
I'm sorry, but I sorry to butt in again, but from when I've watched Celtic, Ryan Christie just seems like one of those luxury players. Like, he'll turn up once and then he'll disappear for the next 5. Like, I don't. Obviously, he's a national hero for what he done.
That's
Scotland.
also what you say.
But for Celtic, I always feel like he's been a bit of a hit or miss for Celtic, because he play one game, you'd be like, oh, what a player, and you feel like, oh, Celtic could probably get a good wee fee for him. They probably could still get a good fee for him if he's part of like the selling process in the summer. But I think Ryan Christie, he is a bit on and off, and I don't fully rate him as a footballer, to be perfectly honest.
Be grateful that we're in the Euros. Ryan Christie's a name that should never be out of your mouth.
I'm grateful for these players, but I could be grateful for a lot of Liverpool players as well. But you have to look at the bigger picture as well.
Like, it's similar to Origi, except on a different pedigree. But what I would say is, Ryan Christie, he has got unlimited ability. It's just when he picks and chooses when he uses it. We've seen it against Aberdeen in the semi-final. At Hampden as well, Robbie. We've seen it time and time again for Aberdeen, against Aberdeen, for Celtic. What do you think of Christie?
Well, during his time at Aberdeen, you could tell that the guy, it's a bit like, comparing to James Maddison might seem strange, but if you compare the times at Aberdeen, it's a player that you could see had talent, a lot of raw talent, could come up with a lot of good moves. But I do agree with Liam in terms of a luxury player. Whereas if I look at him for Celtic, David Turnbull and Christie, you need to have depth in your squad, so it's perfect for them to have both that players if they're willing to play equal game time or like rotate. But then Christie, he's not a bad player at all, and I think he might not go on to the levels of Premier League, but he'll certainly hold his own playing for Celtic in the top of the Scottish Premiership.
What do you think about Celtic fans calling him Mr. Rose Ed?
It can be seen as accurate, probably.
It must be frustrating, wouldn't it? Like, every Celtic game I watch, you've seen the difference. Turnbull's set pieces are second to none. I think we all know that. But we all rated Ryan Christie. His set pieces never ever beat the first man. And it must be really frustrating watching that week in, week out, seeing the same thing happening week in, week out, him not being able to beat the first man. And I'm true to it as well. I watch Partick Thistle, so I can say we've not scored from a corner in about 2 years as well from that.
But I'm sorry to echo you on that, Aberdeen.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but sometimes it's like simple. It's like free kicks not beating the first man, free kicks being overhit, and you're like, you're supposed to be a professional football player. Just keep it simple and do it right. And Christie tries all this knuckleball technique with stuff, and it's like, come on, man, just do it properly, do it right, and maybe you can get something out of it. You see it the way with Tav. Tav does it. He just whips the ball, power, pace, and he whips it magnificently. Liam, you obviously know with Trent and Robbo, they've been taught from as soon as they've come in the door. Set pieces are number one. Crosses are number one on that list.
Yeah.
The accuracy in that team is just magnificent.
If you're going to talk about corners, then Trent and Robbo are just as bad as Partick Thistles and Celtic set pieces, because our corners are terrible most of the time, but mainly because we've lost the aerial presence of Van Dijk. But I get
Don't you can compare to Partick Thistle, mate? I'm sorry.
All right.
That's definitely a new thing with Liverpool, though, because
Yeah.
that would definitely be seen as one of their strong points with Trent and the set pieces.
We've been limited with our set pieces. Like I always say, like when we've got a corner, why don't you let someone else? Like Trent obviously has got a fantastic cross on him, and about a few times it will reach a man, and he will get a good chance out of it. But I always say, why don't you let someone else take it? Why don't you let Thiago take it? You know, our most creative player on the pitch take a corner, for example. Like he's done it for Bayern Munich so many years. We'll move on to Liverpool shortly, but with Liverpool set pieces, I can definitely see what you mean with the whole crossing scenario. But as of recent, it's been
corner taken quickly.
Well, yeah, the best example.
So, Robbie, from an Aberdeen point of view,
Antwerp have just got a penalty there. Sorry, they're about to go 2-1.
Antwerp against Rangers.
Aye.
Robbie, where do we go from an Aberdeen point of view?
Well, it was an unwanted record last night of 6 games without a goal for Aberdeen. And
do you want to know a fact? I think I seen a fact the other night. Sorry to butt in. Is it 194 games and you have kept a clean sheet in 4 of them against Celtic?
That was the stat of Liam McLeod of BBC.
194
yesterday.
Games and you've kept I might be guessing with 194, but it was definitely 100.
It was 4 times in over 100 games. I can't remember the exact.
Yeah,
it
was some.
It was a staggering stat. Just every time you go in to play a game against Celtic, like Aberdeen fans listening would probably call me a happy clapper, but I was happy with 1-0 because I went into that game thinking this was going to be a 5-6-0 because Aberdeen's confidence has just been so shot. The players that I thought actually had potential, like Ferguson and McFarlane, hadn't played that great lately, so I had no confidence. So the performance they put in yesterday against Celtic wasn't terrible at all.
It was a step up from what obviously drawn with St Mirren, etc. I would take it as definitely a positive rather than a negative. You may call yourself a happy clapper. Celtic are just after smashing St Mirren in their own back garden, so to come off of that, they're full of confidence. They're playing at home. They're playing their own garden this time. You're getting into Celtic Park with them full of confidence. To come away with a 1-0 defeat, it's not the worst after drawing with St Mirren, who Celtic have just battered.
Yeah, that is definitely for sure. And the one positive, like speaking of Aberdeen, is Florian Kamberi. Like Derek McInnes has repeatedly said in his press conferences, he wants his January signings to hit the ground running quickly. And yeah, none of them have scored yet, but Kamberi, he looks a talent. And I knew he was going to be a good player from Hibs and Rangers, as we spoke about on a previous podcast, but he hit the post and he was very unlucky with a few chances yesterday, and on another day could have easily had an equaliser. So
apparently your loan signings are looking unfit, to say the least. What would you make of that comment? Obviously you say Kamberi's come in, he's hit the ground running. I would definitely agree with that, but from what I've seen and what other people have said, so like Hornby, etc., not fit to come in and hit the ball running.
Fraser Hornby, Stevie May Mark II is what I call him. This guy, I don't like publicly shaming players, but I think he's played 3 games now, and I've not seen him really make a positive contribution. And I was, out of all the signings, I thought he was talked up really well, played for Everton previously, got a big move to France, and maybe he's just lack of game time, but he's not really took a shot on goal and really done anything with the ball yet. So maybe it's fitness, I don't know, but hopefully he can get on the score sheet against Kilmarnock on Saturday.
Yeah, another Premiership game to get onto. Hamilton just always seem to do it, don't they? They're just that annoying wee brother, aren't they? That just won't leave you alone. And they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and they've done it again. I would hate to be a Motherwell fan right now. What's your thoughts? 4-1 to Hamilton and Motherwell at Fir Park. If it was anything, it was going to be the other way around for me. So what's your thoughts on this? Massive turnaround from Hamilton and Brian Rice, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the previous midweek before the match, I'd seen Motherwell defeat Kilmarnock at Rugby Park and thought, yeah, Motherwell looked promising. They didn't dominate Kilmarnock, but didn't look like a team that was going to concede 4 goals. So when I seen that result on Saturday, and as an Aberdeen fan, seeing that Iloni Buchanan was on the score sheet, getting an assist, and for it to be so emphatic, well, Hamilton they just have a knack of doing it, and fair play to them, because every season we think, yeah, they're doomed, and I wouldn't put it past them staying up again this season with this form.
Yeah, 100%. So obviously getting into Motherwell Stadium, it's a derby. It's probably one of the biggest games of the season. Unacceptable to come away with anything like we've seen before, because we've seen Motherwell hammering. Why am I getting mixed up? We've seen Motherwell hammering Hamilton. We've seen Hamilton hammering Motherwell. Where do you go if you are a Motherwell fan from now? Because as I said, it's unacceptable to come away with that result.
Yeah, to lose to your rivals is bad enough, but to get beat in that margin and just I by that margin at all. So fans are probably rightly disappointed in the team, but I don't really know where they go from here, because I think it's so hard to predict down at the bottom of the league, because everyone seems to, just as you want to rule someone out, whether it's be Ross County, Motherwell, Hamilton, etc., Kilmarnock, who have all went through bad runs of form, they suddenly get a result like that. Or Hamilton would have took a lot of faith out of that draw at home to Rangers the previous game as well. So sometimes building momentum, getting a bit of luck, and then you just never know.
Yeah, 100%. So Ross Callaghan, we were speaking about this earlier. He's come into Hamilton with that experience of knowing how to win games. He done it. If you remember rightly, playing with Hearts. I remember him. He was a bit of a penalty merchant for Hearts at the start, and then he just started scoring screamer after screamer after screamer for Hearts. I think he kind of drifted down the ranks. He went to Dundee, didn't he? And then now he's at Hamilton. We spoke about David Turnbull being a turning point with Celtic. Ross Callaghan needs to be put up there with him as well for being a turning point for Hamilton. If Hamilton stay up again this season, that man he deserves a medal for what he's done for Hamilton.
Yeah, I really think so. As you mentioned, his form at Hearts, and I remember him scoring some great goals as well. And to play, sometimes Hamilton seem to get these sort of players, like guys that have played at a higher level.
Dougie Emery, remember?
Yeah, and they've got that experience. Ross Callaghan's 27 now. I think in his form so far, I think 8 goals in 24 games for Hamilton this season. He's really good, and I think with Ross Callaghan and then Simon Buchanan on loan up front with Ocampo, Hamilton have got the ammo now to score goals. And Hamilton, as much as we'll love to hate them, they can be quite entertaining to watch as well. Brian Rice makes his teams have a go, and I think that makes these players like Ross Callaghan excel in these teams.
Yeah, Adam, I was at the St Johnstone v Hamilton game earlier on this year, and I know I keep speaking about it. It was a 5-3 game. It finished to St Johnstone. We've seen Craig Conway, we've seen Stevie May up front. We've seen Danny McNamara, who's now back at Millwall, and he's getting player of the match, near enough every match for Millwall. It was just a free-flowing game. That was a game David Templeton got injured. We talked about star men. So it's kind of as if Ross Callaghan's come in and took over from David Templeton's star man type play. What I would say about that game is, you noticed the way that they just kept trying to get the ball to Templeton because they knew he would try and make something of it. And I remember him hitting the post, and then somebody went right through him after. I think St Johnstone were trying to go for him. See, after that, Brian Rice didn't sit back and go, "Oh no, what we're going to do now?" Brian Rice, I think they were 4-1 down at one point, and Brian Rice it was before half time. Brian Rice just said, come on boys, let's go for it. And they get, give them their dues, it was 2 lucky goals, but they got 2 goals, and it was back to 4-3. So it just shows you, like, he's not a man for being trundled over at any point, is he?
That's what matters. Just getting yourself back in that game, no matter how you do it. And I think me being an Aberdeen fan, I think our manager needs to take a leaf out of Brian Rice's book sometimes to get the goals.
Yeah. Liam, before you start falling asleep talking about Scottish football, very, very promising result from Liverpool the other night, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't take too much out of it because I'm going to sound like a negative fan here, but it's a fantastic performance by Liverpool. We deserve to get the 2-0 win. But the first half performance especially, it stunk of like our previous performances, if you know what I mean. Like against Leicester,
dominant and just not able to make anything from it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just had that same feeling going into the second half against Leipzig, but I swear it looked like we signed Upamecano. Like I don't know how many times he gave the ball away that game. And
see, sorry to butt in here, but see if you actually watched the game, do you know? See for the second goal, do you know it wasn't Upamecano? The commentators.
Yeah, I know that wasn't Upamecano.
It was shocking from the commentators. The commentators were saying Upamecano this, Upamecano that. Oh, Upamecano's gave the ball away. Upamecano's trying to recover. It was Mukiele that missed the ball. It wasn't Upamecano. So I think he needs to be laid off a bit of stick for that. But he did. I think the whole Leipzig defence were just put on like the back fence from obviously what had happened.
Yeah.
Throughout the game.
I wasn't talking about the mistake for the goal in general, but the whole game himself. Like I noticed like how many times he gave the ball away. Like you would genuinely think that he was pinging balls into our forwards. Like it was genuinely terrible play from everyone involved. But he had a shocker and all. I don't, like you said in the preview, maybe Bayern Munich was playing on his mind. You don't know. Maybe he was nervous. But but for Liverpool's sake, it's a good result. 2 away goals, can't go amiss, and none conceded. And moving forward, we've got the Merseyside derby at the weekend. It's a perfect result to take into that game.
Massive game. Especially after the end of the last game as well, with what happened with Pickford, Van Dijk, with what happened by all the other stuff. So absolutely massive.
Absolutely. Obviously Salah scoring again, carrying us as usual. Mane getting back amongst the goals again, but it's all about Salah at the moment. He had an absolute screamer of a game on Tuesday night. But the one player I want to talk about is Kabak. I thought Kabak had an absolute dominant display at the back. Yeah,
he did. And he was carrying the ball out from the back confidently. Very similar to the way we seen Gomez and Van Dijk doing it.
And I've seen in training today that Fabinho's not in training again, so the most likely scenarios we'll see the same centre-back pairing as last time. So, I mean, against Everton, it will be a bit of a problem because it'll also be a question whether Calvert-Lewin's going to be fit for Everton or not.
Yeah, that'll be massive for them as well, because we all know the strength and quality that Calvert-Lewin brings up front. I think you've obviously got James Rodriguez, you've obviously got Digne, the quality in midfield with Decore as well, but Calvert-Lewin's the end product, isn't he? And if they've not got him, who do you honestly think they can turn to?
Yeah, we'll get into the Everton Man City game later, but back on when the Liverpool Leipzig game, Liverpool might have played really well, but it didn't really paint a good picture for Leipzig. Leipzig were awful against Liverpool on Tuesday, and I remember one moment where I think Angelino picked the ball up in his favoured position, that kind of left wing position, and he struck it first time and he nearly put it out for a throw in. I saw, and that just summed up Leipzig's performance pretty much, and they missed a very talismanic forward in that game because they really struggled up front that game.
And Kunku, I would say, you spoke about it in the preview, didn't you? About Henderson, centre back. And honestly, I would say Nkunku did catch out Henderson 1 or 2 times. His finishing just let him down. You've seen at the start of the game, Leipzig did hit the post with that diving header. But apart from that, Liverpool seemed so comfortable, didn't they? And you wouldn't expect it from last year's Champions League semi-finalists. Like, usually Leipzig bring the game to you. But I think Klopp, you need to give Klopp all credit where it's due. Klopp came with a game plan and he executed it immaculately. He knew he had to dominate the game and he knew he had to frustrate Leipzig, and that, I think that's what led to most of the mistakes. Would you not say?
Absolutely, yeah. But that is the Liverpool of old: frustrate teams and hit them on the counter, and we've done it. And the best thing I can talk about, especially with the first goal, is you see the way Salah was almost expecting the defender to make the mistake. He was ready to run onto any loose pass. And I say this all the time, those mark like the best forwards in the world. See, when a forward is expecting a defender or a midfielder to make a mistake, it's almost an instinct with them. And it's not something that you can drill into a player. It's something that they're almost like born with when they start playing. And Salah's finish was so clinical as well, the way he put it bottom corner. And again, credit's due for Klopp. He absolutely got the game plan spot on against Leipzig. He's obviously done his homework, and all the players have done their homework as well. And Alisson looked to be back to his best that game as well, with a good few key saves. You mentioned Nkunku when he spun Henderson. Well, not spun, but he kind of outpaced him almost. And it was a good save from Alisson.
I think that's something Liverpool will need to work on. Henderson definitely isn't positionally aware. It's frustrating watching it because I keep saying it, I played centre-back all my life, so I know kind of how to go about it. You can see he's still got that centre midfielder thing in his mind because he's jumping into things that he should not be jumping into. He's trying to cover, see with the way as a centre mid, you're supposed to cover that gap as soon as possible. He's doing it as a centre-back. Centre-back, you kind of need to lay off a bit and let them come towards you, or else you will just get spun by the best strikers. Yesterday, what an interesting result that was. Can I just say something? Look, what was it you were contradicting me with, saying that Koundé was this, Koundé was that, and Sevilla weren't going to concede. What was it, you, Liam?
It was me.
Sevilla weren't going to concede goals and blah 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 blah. Erling Haaland, 2 words, Erling Haaland. What can you say? What can you say on a reel? But what can you say? This man is incredible.
Oh, he is unreal. And to be perfectly honest, like I said this to you the other last night, I genuinely think with his whole link-up play, his clinical finishing, I genuinely, there's a debate to put him out there as the best striker in the world right now. I know what you can say about Lewandowski and Suarez and all that, but to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't want anyone else but Haaland in my team.
I see where you're coming from, but I think you need to look at Lewandowski's stats from the last season. The games that, I know this is a massive game, but I feel Lewandowski's always there for his players. Is Haaland really a link-up player, or is he really more the player of this is Haaland type of thing? Also, what I would say is he a big game player? Because I've seen Haaland hiding in some big games, say against Bayern Munich, even though he turned up in the game earlier on in the season against Bayern Munich, but he didn't turn up in the cup game against them. And then
against Serbia,
he's went missing as well. So, but take nothing away from, I think Haaland is a monster, to say the least. Just the way he runs, the way he just does things that nobody else can do with the size of his body. You see the sweat dripping off him.
No worries for Big Virgil though.
he works so hard, doesn't he? Like,
aye.
You see him. Like, I think last night there was a chance and it get played through, and there was no chance available. The ball was getting blocked off by Koundé, and he just literally whipped it out a shot out of nowhere, and he blasted the keeper's fingertips with it. It was a flying save, and some of the things that he does is just world class, isn't it? It's like something we've never seen before.
Yeah, I let Luke speak now because he hasn't had a chance to talk tonight.
I was just gonna say, like, I think it's a weird on Haaland in that we like to big up young players, and like he's obviously somewhat a generational talent, and I feel like it's going to be between him and Mbappe, at least right now, that are the two players maybe looking to take over like football and be the best in their positions. But I think it's a bit too early to say that he's kind of on Lewandowski's level. Like, it might be harsh to say he goes missing in big games. He definitely has done, but he scored like last year. He scored against PSG in the Champions League. He scored this year in the knockout stages. I think he's clearly consistent. He's got a lot of goals to his game, but it's just the sort of thing I'm thinking is the form Dortmund have been in this year. They've been poor, and obviously it's not up to your striker to do it all. But I just think Lewandowski, he's in a winning team. He's won pretty much everything, and he's done it over a long period of time. Whereas Haaland's been at the top of European football for 12, 18 months. I just think it's too early to say he's the best in his position. But honestly, after Lewandowski, I don't know if there's many players I take aside from Haaland. To be fair,
Look,
I'd still give Lewandowski the edge.
I honestly couldn't have said it better than the way you've just put it there. Round of applause, mate. Well done. Honestly, yeah. I would also like to give a round of applause to your team, Luke, and Robbie, your team as well tonight. 4-0 thumping of Real Sociedad in the Europa League. Plenty of positives to take. What a result! What a result! What's your thoughts?
Yeah.
What's your game?
I'm glad we filmed it now and not a few hours ago, because we obviously drew against West Brom at the weekend. And drop points again to a relegation threatened team. But it does frustrate me, like, as buzzing as I am about tonight's result, and that's us hopefully in the next stage of the Europa League, barring some sort of disaster. But again, it just shows like how inconsistent we are, that this team can turn up and beat Sociedad 4-0, but they can't beat Sheffield United, we can't beat West Brom. Like, I just can't wrap my head around it. But like, overall, really good performance, really dominant. It wasn't just the 4 goals, they were creating chances all night. Solid defensively. Eric Bailly with a goal line clearance, you love to see it. He should be starting every game that he's fit alongside Maguire. Telles coming in, James, all looking quite sharp. Fred McTominay dominant in midfield, and we're missing Pogba right now, so that's important.
McTominay's come on to some game, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's doing brilliantly. I think McSauce, as we like to call him. I think a lot of people aren't sure if he's got a future at the club, but I think he definitely does. Whether that's going to be starting every single week, or some sort of a squad player, I definitely think there's space for him there, one way or another. But he's got a good few goals this season as well. Had some chances tonight. All round, I just think he's really good. And if you give him the sort of role he deserves, and that's kind of box to box, doing it at both ends, he'll put in a shift defensively, and he can get forward and create chances and score goals. So I think McTominay's brilliant, and Fred as well. I think he's having the sort of last 12 months. He's completely turned his career around at Man United. He'd never have seen this coming, but he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet in that midfield now. Fred, you can't really take him out of that team. So yeah, a lot of positives tonight, but again, just showing how inconsistent we are, and I feel like Ollie has to just figure out why this is happening, why you can go to West Brom, draw, and then go and beat Sociedad 4-0. Like, it's just,
yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? But West Brom. Sorry, what I was going to say is West Brom did turn up against Chelsea, turned up against Liverpool as well. So it seems to me like they're struggling against the smaller teams.
Yeah, I mean, I've already mentioned. Yeah, I mentioned Sheffield United. This is the thing. Like, United we can beat the big teams. I think when the onus is on us to attack, we had like over 70% possession against West Brom, and that seems to be the problem. Although saying that, we're dominant tonight against Sociedad, but maybe they're a bit more open, and they're actually wanting to play football, whereas West Brom are just parking the bus. But whatever it is, like, there's no excuses. Everyone's got the same problem. Man City, everyone's going to park the bus against Man City, and they're still banging in goals. So United need to get over this.
Yeah.
Whether it's more creativity in the team, whatever it is, they need to score more goals in these sort of games.
Liam, what were you going to say there? Sorry.
I was going to say about Scott McTominay. It's a bit of a shame that Scott McTominay doesn't even get more plaudits than he should, because I genuinely think, based on this season, maybe barring Bruno Fernandes, on obvious reasons, he's more of an attacking sense. But he's like number 8 kind of midfielder. I'd argue McTominay's probably been Man United's almost most consistent player this season.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
It's a shame to say that. And I was going to say, with Scott McTominay, doesn't he just scream of like the kind of Darren Fletchers or Michael Carrick's? He's going to be constantly consistent, and he's a class player, but he's not going to get the plaudits that he probably deserves. And for Scotland's sake, he's probably Scotland's best midfielder as well, yet he's probably not even going to start in the midfield, because
John McGinn, could you really say he's better than John McGinn?
I'd argue he is better than John McGinn.
Yeah, better than John McGinn.
He's better than John McGinn.
But there's space for 2 in the Scotland midfield. I feel like it should be those two that are starting, and then you've obviously got some Celtic and Rangers midfielders who can get in there. But I don't think they're at the level of 2 Premier League midfielders for me. I think it should be McTominay again starting.
So, talking about Europa League, Rangers are currently playing right now against Royal Antwerp. Royal Antwerp, Rangers went 1-0 up. Royal Antwerp equalised in the 45th minute on stroke of half time. They get a penalty in the 48th minute, as we spoke about earlier, to make it 2-1. Arfield went and scored a penalty in the 59th minute to make it 2 each. And now at Royal Antwerp have just scored.
Oof.
And it's 3-2 to Royal Antwerp now, 67th minute. Rangers are crumbling at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just that little dip that every team nearly experiences every season. Every big team experiences dips, and this is probably Rangers' dip of the season. We don't know; they'll probably go on and win 4-3 now.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't rule them out for scoring a few goals.
Is this away? Is this? They've got two away goals.
This is in.
So 2 away goals can't be the worst thing in the world. They probably would still take a 3-2 defeat.
It's in Belgium. What I was going to say to you, Robbie, is do you think Rangers can go the full season unbeaten in the league?
I think it'd be a big ask, but I think they can. But I do think surely they'll slip up between now and the end of the season. Although it's not many games left. 9 games left of the season? But obviously, when the top 6 splits, there's obviously harder teams to play against. So maybe Celtic will finally beat them. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. But league title's over, do you think? Celtic 15 points behind?
Yeah, touched on this last time about Celtic picking up form, Rangers starting a bit like John against Hamilton, but you've still got to think the league's got to be over. There's not enough time for Celtic to claw enough ground back.
It would be so Rangers, though. Wouldn't it just be so Rangers if they did just lose their bottle and not win the league at this stage?
I think it's a massive ask with 9 games to go to lose.
It wouldn't happen.
I know, but it would be Rangers win it.
Well, I was talking to someone the other day, and I think if Rangers win both the Old Firms, then they win the league. They could lose every game and win both the Old Firms, and I think it would be level on goal difference.
They need 3 wins. If they get 3 wins, they win the league.
Yeah, there's no chance. There's no chance.
If they beat Celtic both games, then I think it is mathematically over, I think.
What I'd like to touch on quickly, I think we all know about this. The 5 players that decided to go to a house party 3 games away from winning the league, and these 5 stupid players decide to go to a house party, and they've put the whole season in jeopardy now for Rangers. What would you say if you were Steven Gerrard? Liam, we'll go with you.
I hope I never see you in my training ground again. You've lost pretty much said you've lost my trust, mate. Like, these players have got a duty to follow. They've been given special circumstances, unlike us. Like these football stars are allowed to travel around Europe, play the sport they love, and the fans aren't allowed to travel and watch them.
Paid for it.
They're getting paid astronomical amounts of money to do it as well. And there's the government are just the club and the government are asking just the simple things. Just follow the guidelines, respect the guidelines, and don't take the piss.
Stupid, exactly. Very, very, very stupid. The fact that 5 of them, not even like maybe 1 or 2 of them, as we thought at the start, you're like, oh, it's a couple of boys who've been invited into our house, but it's still unacceptable, but we can deal with that. For 5 of your first team squad to have done that, that's just a real lack of respect at the end of the day, isn't it? To the club, to the fans. And it's not a wee club as well, it's Rangers Football Club, probably the biggest club in Scotland, if you put it into perspective.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I really hope Gerrard really stamps his authority in this situation. He seems to be the kind of guy that takes no prisoners when it comes to punishing players. And you remember with back in the start of the season with the likes of George Edmondson, obviously he got loaned out to England a couple of weeks later. So he did to Derby, was it? And it wouldn't surprise me if these Rangers players don't see a Rangers shirt again this season.
Rob, I see you're shaking your head. If you get something to say.
No, I'm just shaking disbelief. Like the boy Zungu, who was involved, he just made his debut, if I'm right in saying, against Hamilton 2 Sundays ago, and then getting a chance in the first team, and then suddenly they're stupid enough to go to a party. I just didn't understand the logic. Like Rangers are always got to be in the spotlight no matter what. So it's just madness, and I hope they're punished appropriately. Null and void the league.
Yeah, 100%. Just madness, isn't it? Boys, have you got your games of the week?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, who will we go with first? Benfica drawing 1-1 with Arsenal still. That's quite interesting. What I would like to say before we go into the games of the week, Did you see the Leverkusen score?
No, what was it?
Young boys beat Leverkusen 4-3
Away from home it was, so
away
yeah.
from home as well. But that's
That would have been a great watch.
Sorry?
That would be great to watch in the highlights. 4-3, 7-goal thriller.
I thought Leverkusen would run away with that with the form they've been in recently. Form they were in last year as well. Who we go with first? Look, we'll go with you, Mr. Stretchy, for your game of the week. Tell us about it.
I picked Arsenal Man City for my game of the week just because of the form City are in. I think everyone's watching them right now, seeing if they're going to slip up. And I don't think it's going to be Arsenal, but we've seen in the FA Cup last year, you had Arteta against his old manager Guardiola, and they managed to knock City out of the cup and then lift it themselves. So could Arsenal be the team to end this crazy run that City seem to be on? I doubt it, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Would you like to go for a prediction for that then?
Yeah, 2-0 City, I think.
Who's to score?
Oh, Mahrez just off the goal I seen.
I forgot to even mention that Mahrez's goal last night. That was the Leicester Mahrez that we know. That was unbelievable. That goal. He just whipped it in, posting in.
I read a statistic after he scored that goal that he's scored the most left foot goals in the league since 2015. Since only Mo Salah scored more.
I was about to say he's better than Salah, just annoying. Can't even make a case now. I'll say Salah's going to score. Mahrez and Ilkay Gundogan maybe. As well.
Mahrez and who? Sorry.
Gundogan.
Gundogan.
Good stuff. Liam, seeing as you're desperate, we'll let you go last. Now, you can go next.
I think it's quite obvious what I'm going with. The Merseyside derby. Liverpool need to take all the positives they can take from the Leipzig game and take them into this Merseyside derby. A win for them will see them go 6 points clear of Everton, albeit Everton will have a game in hand on Liverpool. But if Liverpool were to win this game, it will certainly install more confidence amongst the players. And we want to see the likes of Kabak continue to be solid at the back. Obviously, I would like to see City drop points in this situation. But like Mr. Luke said, the league's pretty much...
Mr. Stretchy, that's going to your name.
I can't get over that, man, Mr. Stretchy. What I was saying was... I'd probably want Man City to beat Arsenal because Arsenal are starting to creep up that top 4 race almost, and Man City are probably going to win the league now. Let's be perfectly honest about it. They're only at 6 points behind Liverpool, though.
That's scary.
I know it's mad scary. It's not because we've been poor, like we have been poor, but every team around us has been relatively poor as well.
Yeah, it's just really tight there, isn't it?
But back on the Merseyside derby, Liverpool will be looking at the obviously the positives that they took from the Leipzig game, but from the league, I don't know, maybe like the mindset was different because it was different competition, but Liverpool need to really, really look at what they've done against Leipzig and take that into the Liverpool game, into the Everton game, because if Everton don't have Calvert-Lewin, that will be a big loss for them, but I'm hearing that he'll probably will be fit. What's scaring me right now is I mentioned the training photos earlier on of no Fabinho. Well, there's been no sighting of Alisson again, so... And no sighting of Kelleher either. So you know what that means? Adrian. So
how's
West Ham. So I see with Adrian. What I would say is, do you think there's going to be a sighting of payback into this game after the last outing? We spoke about Van Dijk's injury, Pickford's malice, even though he came out and he apologised for it after. Also, Thiago's injury. Do you think because obviously he's going to be playing getting into this game? It
wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Thiago picked up a yellow card in the first 10 minutes by stamping on Richarlison's foot. Because it genuinely wouldn't surprise, because Thiago's terrible at tackling anyway, so it wouldn't surprise me if he got a yellow card within the first 10 minutes. But Liverpool, I never predict my team to lose, especially at Anfield. Obviously, the last few games has been a different story. But this has just got a Liverpool win written all over it for me. Like, this is the perfect game to get back to winning ways in the league, especially in a Merseyside derby. And I can see Liverpool not winning comfortably. I can maybe see us go 1-0 up, then they'll equalise, and then we'll go on and win the game 3-1.
Yep.
And
3-1. Who's to score then?
I'm going to go with a Salah hat trick. Why not? I'm going to go and see
Fair
Salah.
enough, to be honest with you, with the form he's been in. He's on his 2017-18 form, do you not think?
Yeah.
There were stats come up yesterday, and he's on the path to like follow his 2017-18 form, which was remarkable. Champions League final form.
Absolutely. I think he's on like 24, 25 goals now, and he's already scored more than last season. He's on course to score more than his second season, and I doubt he'll reach like that. That 17-18 season was a freak. I doubt he'll reach those numbers again, but he will do it mightily close. But back on the score, if Everton were to score, if Calvert-Lewin's fit, I have a feeling he will bag a header against us. He'll probably be targeting Henderson a lot that game.
If he's not fit, Richarlison.
I hope it's not Richarlison. I bloody hate the man. But we'll go for Richarlison just because I can't think of anyone else.
Aye. Or a James Rodriguez free kick to make it spicy.
Does he even start for Everton anymore? Like, just out of curiosity. Like, I've seen he's been on the bench recently.
Sometimes he's starting. He's not really. He's kind of in and out, if you know what I mean. But don't know. It's a hard one. Decore might even score. He's been on a decent run of form.
He's a good big player, so he is.
Did you see Richarlison, before we got into Robbie's game, did you see Richarlison's goal last night? It was a Digne volley and it hit off the post, and Richarlison literally stood on the line, bounced off the post and hit him in the leg, went in, and he's away celebrating as if he scored that wonder goal.
I can't, not honestly, I can't stand Richarlison, not because of his tackle, but doesn't he just look like the kind of guy you just love to punch? I don't know why, but
that's just you, mate.
I just can't stand the man. Like, he's such an arrogant little... I just don't like him.
He's who was it he celebrated against? It was in the cup, and he celebrated
Lincoln.
Like it was it was against Lincoln. What did they do? He done a pure.
He done the Messi celebration. No, he done the Messi celebration. He got his top off, and then he went to Lincoln fans and just showed his Richarlison number 7. You're thinking of Carlos Vinicius in the cup against Marine. He scored from like a yard.
Too many of them in English football nowadays. Probably Brazilians. They think they're playing. Playing in the Premier League when it's the FA Cup. Robbie, what's your game of the week before we got into mines and finish it up, wrap this up?
My game of the week is one that from the French Ligue 1 that I'm really looking forward to watching on Sunday night between PSG and Monaco. And I don't know if a lot of people know.
Old derby, isn't it?
I don't think a lot of people know, or I don't often follow the French league, but folk just expect PSG to be running away with it. But they're not even winning the league at the moment. They're 1 point behind Lille in the league, and Monaco are 4th and unbeaten in 10 games, 8 wins and 2 draws. So I think this is definitely game of the week in terms of Monaco are on fire at the moment, not conceding much goals, getting the wins, and PSG, they score goals, but 5 defeats this season. I think it's definitely going to be a tasty affair because PSG, they've got the talent, but Monaco are proving that they haven't got as great players as they might have had in previous seasons.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of a rebuilding job for Monaco as such.
Yeah.
And what I would say is Lyon are still up there as well. I think they drew
3rd in the league. They're only 3 points off top. So
yeah,
Lyon,
they drew the other night, but Lyon are still in it as well, even though they just sold Moussa Dembele. Toko Ekambi's on fire. Depay.
His contract's up in the summer as well.
Sorry?
Yeah, Depay's contract's up in the summer as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I know.
There'll definitely be a few clubs scouting.
What I would say is, can you really see a win for Monaco? Is it is it the Parc des Princes?
It is. Yeah, it is indeed. It is in Paris, but I think I'm going to 2-2 draw in that game.
Yeah.
Certainly, PSG will be flowing with confidence with their spanking of Barcelona midweek, but Monaco are dangerous.
Yep.
Monaco are scoring goals, so obviously PSG have got Neymar, and I'd fancy. Is he fit? Is he still injured?
He's still injured. He'll be hungover from his sister's birthday.
In Brazil.
He's still injured. Well, they've got him back.
Remember, it's Valentine's Day, mate. You need to treat your sister well.
Oh, my days. No, man.
What is he like?
Right, we'll go on to mine. Sorry, you've not done you said 3-1, didn't you?
2-2.
2-2. Sorry, that was
2-2.
Liam said 3-1. Who do you think scores in
that game? Well, I'm going Mbappe times 2 for PSG, and I'm not going to lie, I don't really know much more.
Monaco, have kind of had a change around of players. Because you had Slimani for a while. I don't know if Slimani's still playing with them or not.
On loan from Leicester, yeah.
Slimani, I'm sure he is. No, he's playing with Leon now. That's where I seen him the other night for Leon.
What about that French striker, Ben Yedder? Is he still there?
Ben Yedder is
Did
still
he
there.
play for Seville?
Ben Yedder's still there, right? Ben Yedder then.
Ben Yedder.
Sorry, it's Robbie's prediction.
Golovin, Alexander Golovin, star of World Cup.
Ben Yedder's there. Voland's still there as well. Voland?
Voland's been decent for Monaco this season, I'm pretty sure.
Fabregas. Plenty of decent players. Sofan Diop, Yusuf Fofana.
Fabregas ripped PSG a new one the last time they faced, so they did.
Stefan Jovetic, Gelson Martins. Jesus, I think we've all just drawn a pure blank with Monaco, haven't we?
Yeah.
Honestly.
I played them on FIFA and Football Manager too much, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick with 2-2 and for Monaco, Ben Yedder and Fabregas to score. And for PSG, I'll go with Mbappe ×2.
Yep. I think PSG will wipe the floor with Monaco. They always seem to, don't they? I'll say 4-1 PSG. I'll go into my game. I think I've probably got the most interesting game of the weekend. I'm sorry, Liam, even though it's Merseyside derby, it is derby weekend, and I have got AC Milan versus Inter, 2:00 on Sunday.
What game?
And let's be honest here. If it was a Merseyside derby a couple of months ago, I would have gave it to you, but this is going to be one of the biggest games of the season for both teams.
Absolutely.
Is this in the league, Blair? Because I know they played in the cup recently. Is this in like a second leg? Is it?
No, this is in the league. It will be.
The league.
Yeah. Yep, round 23 of the league. Inter Milan have actually just taken over AC Milan, and they're 1 point ahead of them in the league. No teams have got games in hand at all. So AC Milan are sitting on 49 points, Inter are sitting on 50. Third place Roma are sitting on 43 points, and Juventus sitting on 42. So there's a big gap. There's an 8-point gap between first and third. What I would say is whoever wins this game, I think will just fire on, and most likely will win the league. Juventus are kind of on and off with it. They have got a game in hand which can take them to 45 points, take them 5 points off. Juventus are still in it. I would rule Roma out of it. Whoever wins between Inter and AC Milan will go for the title with Juventus. I don't see it being a two-way between Inter and Milan. I think one team will drop out with form. We've seen it in recent years. So this is going to be such a vital game. AC Milan are actually my Italian team. I've loved AC Milan for ages. So it's so good to see them taking a Dortmund approach. They get rid of Suso, they get rid of Bonaventura, and they've just get rid of all the dead wood. And they're starting fresh. They've brought in that young Norwegian winger. Obviously, Ibrahimovic is just he's Ibrahimovic, and he just does what he wants when he wants. Rafael Leao's came onto a game. I could sit here and talk all day about AC Milan, but all I would like to say is if AC Milan win this, they will hopefully push on and get a result. I'm going to go with a 2-1 AC Milan win after the last time. It's going to be very interesting with Lukaku versus Ibra again. Remember, there's no suspensions this game. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for this game. Lukaku versus Ibra. It's going to be fire. So 2:00 on Sunday. If you're in the UK, tune in because this is going to be absolute fire. It's going to be carnage. I'll say Ibrahimovic and that winger Hagi, is it Jean-Paul Hagi or something?
Couldn't tell you, mate. Couldn't tell you.
He scored against Celtic anyway. I'm pretty sure of it. But he's a player. So that's all from us for now. Thank you very much for joining us, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure again, talking absolute geek for an hour. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. Do not forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 150 by the end of the month. It would be a massive favour if we can get to 150 by the end of the month. We're only 30 off it, I think. So 30 clicks, 30 subscriptions, and we're done for. Massive favour. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. As I said, do us a favour, subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments.
Check out MANSCAPED in the description below.
Until then, it's a goodbye. Oh, BSR Sports 20. If you want your Manscaped package, you know what to do. Use the code BSR. Oh, you're right, Liam.
Yeah. Oh, I was trying to get a plug out there to say a shameless plug, but go on.
Yeah, BSR Sports 20. The link is in the bio. Just follow the instructions. You'll get £20 off if you order the full package. Massive. You're not going to get a better deal anywhere else. So just follow instructions in the link in the bio. Until then, thank you very much, and it's a goodbye from me.
Cheers.
It's a goodbye from me.